I've changed nothing. Nothing has changed since the last time. You sure it's not on your end? Hold on. Oh, sorry, peeking, hold on. Is that better? Oh god. I'm sorry. It's so loud. Hold on. There we go. No. How about now? Is that better? Sometimes the computer is dumb, and sometimes it doesn't want to pick up the microphone. And it's like, oh, well, I'm just gonna take it from your phone. And I'm like, that's not at all what I was asking for. So is everything better now, and we're not going deaf, and we're not exploding our headphones to pieces? I still don't know why I would do that. That's really weird. Whoop. Well, that's what we're printing today. Don't mind me. Got Photoshop is still open. How's that? Well, it's also coming through on my microphone, so you might actually be hearing double music. Ugh. Let's go like that. There we go. Technical difficulties. Yay. But we got eyeballs to sublimate. More yay. Huzzah. Oh, good lord. First things first, though, I have to actually make this usable. There we go. You're supposed to be on and heating up. Alright, I need scissors. We're gonna make some waterproof eyeballs and hopefully get those installed today. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, brain hole. Hopefully, we can pattern up the head and get that ready for fur. Because we kind of are behind the original schedule for this suit. Because I had to wait for new filament to come in, so I was only able to get the proper blanks printed this morning. I kind of can't do everything else until the blanks are in the head, so can't sublimate. I mean, I could have sublimated the mesh, but we just got the go ahead on the design yesterday. So. Big old baby. This piece isn't big enough. Oh, this piece is big enough, actually, I think. I saved these little pieces just in case. It is big enough. We're gonna sublimate this guy then. I just have to make sure that there's absolutely no fur, fuzzies, or anything else on it, because you can't heat press through fur and somebody sheds. We're going to put the smooth side down though, because that's less likely to have stuff on it. And actually I'm just going to cut the black. Yeah. fuzzy-ish. There we go. Should just go trim this white edge off because I don't want to deal with it. Cool. No fuzzies. No fuzzies. I do not want to have to reprint and resublimate these eyes again if there does happen to be fuzzies. Actually, I need you to sit on here. I found that a longer timer and pre-warming the fabric that I sublimate through helps quite a bit in getting a nice color actually printed out. Where did... Oh. Duh. Shush, Forrest. Shush, bud. Alright. Forrest! God damn. Yeah, I know. I am aware, buddy. Someone came home. So now he's big loud about it. Forrest, if you don't stop barking, I'm gonna kick you out. Yeah, I'm gonna kick you out. You won't be able to come back in here for hours. You'll never see me ever, 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 ever again. See, this one's got all kinds of fuzzies and stuff from being in the drawer with the felt. Get out, go. He needs to stop with the barking. Now he gets to be out there and he'll realize he will not shush. No, he's a little shit. He's a big barker. That's alright. That just means he gets to stay out there for the next couple hours while Bingus and I stay in here without him. Since he wants to yell about it. Which also means that odds are you're going to hear him crying from the other side of the door. Even though there's 2 other people in the house with him. He's a big baby. Just like always. Alright, scissors, scissors. Alright, so this is up to temp now. Hot. Hot, 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 hot. Ooh, and stinky. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Fuck. There we go. Now, we squish. This is pretty boring, but it also makes the office really hot. Which sucks. It also smells, because there's ink left over on this fabric from many, many other sublimations. That's getting cooked and cooked and cooked. Over and over and over again. No, I don't want to be squished. Not the me, the fabric. And unfortunately, I have to do this 4 separate times, because I have to do it once for each side, and then I have to do the eyes separately, because this heat press actually isn't big enough to do both of the eyes on my normal size blanks at once. So I get to do each eye individually. But that's alright, they'll come out cool as fuck. And they'll be waterproof. And that's all we care about. As long as they look good and they work good, that's what matters. Even if it's a little tedious. Also, I'm on my tippy toes because I'm short. I'm trying to put a decent amount of weight on this thing, because it's not heavy. I mean, it's got some weight to it, but it's not like heavy, and you gotta be able to put pressure for it to properly I've done her eyes recently, didn't I? Did I do her eyes recently? I don't remember if I changed out her eyes. If she's not on the buckram, then yes. There's one eyeball. And we're crinkled. Fuck. Get back on the hot pad. Crinkling's not necessarily bad, but it just makes it a pain in the butt to hot glue later. So I try my best to not crinkle it. I think we did, yeah. See, I'm pretty sure we did sublimate her eyes. I couldn't remember, honestly, because I don't remember the last time I did stuff on Luna. There we go. Brain hole. Because, yeah, if she doesn't have the buckram, if it's the plastic mesh, then yeah, her eyes are waterproof. I just can't remember if we actually bothered, because we switched out her mesh and stuff so many times. We changed out her eye blanks and all that over the years, so. Which, I think this is my final design for eye blanks. I don't think I need to change anything about them. I like the depth, I like the size of the pupils, not the pupils, but the mesh area. They've got the curve that I wanted on the inside of them, so. Shouldn't need to change her. Shouldn't need to change her eyes again now that she's all waterproofed and all that good stuff. I do have, I know I've mentioned this several times, but I'm still excited about it. I have some personal projects, and I have pretty much all of the materials for said projects. I gotta order some more stuff from a couple different places yet, but they exist. I'm very excited about it. I'm also missing a zipper. For this commission specifically, I'm missing a zipper. And I'm kind of mad about it. It's somewhere in this room. But I'm missing a zipper. No, Luna, none of them are pink. God. My personal projects are not pink. As far from that as possible. They're mostly neutrals. Hot, 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 hot. Oop. B flat. There we go. Cool beans. And now we got 2 eyeballs. We just gotta let this cool off. Toss our garbage. And then I can actually show you guys. Mesh. Doesn't look half bad. It's hard for you guys to see with all of the light coming from behind it, but mesh. The upside is they definitely look really good. The downside is that the holes are so perfectly consistent that I actually need to switch to smaller holes. Because, like, this is amazing vision. Like, it darkens things just a tiny bit, but that's about it. It's better than the buckram I used to have, even. And I'd say the buckram I used to have is really good. The problem I have now is that because the holes are large enough, if it's light inside of a suit, like inside the fursuit heads, if it's light enough, which isn't usually an issue, but it is for suits like Patch, who have mostly UV yellow on their unlined suit. Sometimes the lighting just hits right, and you can full-on see the person inside the suit, which is not great. But it is what it is. It's the mesh I have for now. But I do have a new mesh that I will eventually switch to, hopefully. That will have slightly smaller holes. It depends, because I don't want to reduce vision at all, but I also don't want I want the eyes to function properly, you know? Like, I want them to be able to fill the eye hole, yada yada, all that good stuff. But I do like the vision out of these. I like the very consistent vision. And like I said, it's not usually an issue for most suits, but for some suits, it's just too light in there. But I do plan at some point on switching the mesh out a little bit. It'll be the same kind of mesh. It'll just be different sized holes. And now we get the joy of hot gluing our eye blanks to our eyeballs, and then sticking our eyeballs in our head, which this is the head base we're using. It's based off of a 3D model reference, and it's supposed to be an otter. It is an otter, which kind of funny to have sort of back-to-back otter suits when I've never had them before, and now I'm suddenly getting otter suits. I like them. I like doing their tails. Their tails are always fun. But as you can see, this one's a bit of a different shape than the last otter suit. That's because we're following this little 3D model. Generally speaking, I would say that his face is a bit more bear-shaped. Like, it's less otter, more bear leaning. But that was specifically requested for. And he's definitely going to look a lot cuter. And, you know, as usual, they look much better when they have fur on them. And he does have a lot of hair that will come up off the top that I think will help reduce that bear look. Make him look a bit more like an otter. A lot more like his little 3D model down here. But for now, we gotta get his eyeballs in. That's step one. Except I'm realizing I didn't really... Well, dang it. I'm realizing that I didn't bring the shading on the outer edge of the eye mesh in enough on the Photoshop file. So actually... Here, you guys wanna watch. I can switch you over. We're gonna do some photoshopping real quick. Because this is our file. We actually need to do. Oh, that's not right. Unless maybe it is. Fuck it. Go like this. This is a little bit harder because I'm not doing it. And that's too much. This is more difficult because I'm doing it with my trackpad on my laptop and not my drawing tablet. But we really do want some of this green shading to come in. Very important that it actually, because right now it doesn't come up close enough. I think that last stroke was too close. Now my thing is that did not feel very soft, so we're going to come in and blur. In fact, actually filter, blur, gauge. That's better. So now we've got this a lot further in than it was before. I don't want it to print it again. Gosh darn it. Because the issue we have right now, and I don't know if I can show you very well, is that this color ring actually goes outside of the inner circle here, and the whole point of that is to prevent any white gaps around the edge of the eye blanks. So we're going to try printing them again with that larger surface area. Oop. Well, it'll print one copy, I guess. Which means we have to get the heat press back out. I don't normally do a dark ring around the edges of my eyes. Around the outer edges, I should say. So it's a little unusual. For me, at least. I know that naturally eyes tend to have a dark ring kind of around the outer edges, but and that's alright, because that just means we'll have extra eyes of a slightly different color that we can use on a pre-made in the future if we wanted. Unfortunately, it means that that nice outer ring on them is not going to show up on said pre-mates. That's okay. A lot of sublimating eyes I've personally found is trial and error, unfortunately. I did not expect these ones to be so bad. The first set came sublimated perfectly. Unfortunately, though, things happen, and sometimes stuff doesn't go as planned, which, oh well. Honestly, this is the hardest part of my job right here, is making sure there's no fuzzies on a material that is in this office. Oh my god, this stuff loves to hold fuzzies. And I gotta be very careful when I check this. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, cool. important part is done. Now, one thing you'll notice as well is that what comes out on the mesh is actually distinctly different from what comes out on the paper. It comes out a lot more muted. Slightly different color on paper. Which is always something interesting to think about. Get out of here. Don't melt my plastic. Cool. I just gotta do this again. Make sure there's fuzzies, of course. Why wouldn't there be? Little fuzzies can be the difference between a perfect eye blank or an eye blank covered in squiggly lines, which is awful and annoying. And awfully annoying. Gonna sublimate this one first and see how that turns out. Because I don't want to bother sublimating both eyes if they're not going to turn out. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Go. Swoop. It always comes out a little bit spicy. Because, you know, we are sublimating at 340 degrees Fahrenheit for 50 seconds on each side. I found that's what works best with this paper and this mesh. It took a lot of figuring out to do. I find that this is also generally the temperature that this mesh starts to kind of melt and get floppy. So it was very hard to figure out what temperature to print at and for how long without burning the mesh. So, you know, it is what it is. Floppy boy. Alright, so where's my other eye blank? These are both right eyeballs. I'm gonna go grab a different eyeball. I printed 5 sets of these, so I'm just now realizing that the eyeballs I grabbed were both right side eyeballs. I'm upsetty spaghetti now. There's just barely not enough on the right side of the left eyeball, at least. Which these should be symmetrical, so it shouldn't matter anyway. Damn. Because then that just means we get this nice dark ring around the tops and bottoms and the left side, but not the right side. So we're going to once again switch over to this one. One more try, guys. One more try. I'll add this to the extra mesh pile. So that was this side that didn't get enough coloring right here on the inside, which I guess, because this is the left eyeball that we're looking at, the right one would have been the same as far as that goes. Which sucks. Oop. Zoom. There we go. So we need to bring in this coloration a lot of it. And I know this looks like a hard line right now, because it is, but why are we not behaving? It doesn't want to undo what I just did. There we go. I don't know why it wasn't taking the shortcut command. That was weird. Oops. And it still doesn't want to. I wonder if there's something wrong with my Z button. I hope that's not doing anything on OBS. That would be very, very silly if it was. I hope not. And now we're just gonna blur the shit out of it. Actually, we're gonna filter. We're gonna go like this. Deselect. Select. In fact, actually, deselect, select this section, jump it, filter, blur, Gaussian. Not hard, you want a soft brush. Turn this off. See, I just don't want this to be such a harsh line. But then at the same time, I need it to actually be far enough. Oop. Be far enough forward. It does what I need it to do. There we go. File, print, printicles. hopefully this time we get what we actually want out of our nose. Because, yeah, we're having... The issue is a lot of times, like, I have this corner that I line it up in, but a lot of times I slide it slightly over anyway to make it more of a focused look. It doesn't work when, you're dumb. So... Sometimes eyeballs are hard. Sometimes they're easy, most of the time they're hard. But this should do it. This should be the final one, because the rest of it was fine. The rest of this eyeball was fine. It just didn't come in far enough on that particular side. Just waiting for it to print. Oh, we got lots of garbage over here now. Since we still have this square of mesh out, I'm going to make sure it's fuzzy free. Which again is hard to do. This thing prints so slow. Can you guys hear the printer noises? Are they close enough for you to hear the... It's almost done. See, now the sad thing is unfortunately I do think that this eye in particular is going to be useless to me no matter what, just because of how funky that is. Alright. Now then, comparison. Yes, that should be much better. Okay, cool. I was like, that's not the eye I sublimated. Sometimes, some days, it's just a struggle. Struggle busting all the way. Alright. Now fuzzy in sight. Good double check, so I don't trust myself. Cool. You can get off of there. You come here. All right. Get that under there. Cool. 15th time's the charm. And this will actually be a right eyeball and not a left, so. Because this one is the left eyeball. they print reflected, which you can't tell from how I print them, but they are reflected images of what they're supposed to be in the end. When I draw them, they're not reflected, but the printer automatically reflects them, because when you put them face down, you're flipping the image. So it's important that it is actually the way you want to see it, otherwise you get stuff like text and whatnot printed backwards. Hot. I burnt my finger a little bit. It's been almost an hour of just pressing eyeballs. I do not have the arm strength for this. Because I'm pretty much just leaning on it. I'm leaning my whole weight onto the heat press. Because I do not weigh that much. Especially not when I'm on my tippy toes. Come on, peel off. Sometimes the paper doesn't like to peel off and then I have to go scrub it off. Not always an issue, but sometimes. Every once in a while. It still sublimates just fine, it just means I have to scrub some paper off of the print. Oh yeah, that's better. Cool. Nice, nice. Alright. So now that means we can sublimate the other eyeball. Table hot right there too. Which means these are extras. I try to save the extras because I don't like wasting material, you know, like it just, I hate to waste something that's technically good, it's just not good enough for a commission. If you're paying good money for something, you want what you paid for. And if you paid for high quality eyeballs, you want high quality eyeballs. I don't mind putting it in pre-mades as like a medium quality, you know, because they still work, they're still waterproof, and they're still a nice color. The outer edge shading just wasn't there. Another piece of mesh. And this is why I buy multiple packs of this mesh at a time, because on a single fursuit there's been some times where I've gone up to 10 different mesh sets. But that's when I was still figuring out how long and how hot to print things. That was most of that trial and error. These days I can usually get 1 or 2 errors before I have a perfect set, and usually it's an issue with color. But I believe now I also have the color figured out, because these are perfect color. They look just like they do on the screen. The real issue is with my sizing right now. So hopefully this will be the last of it, and then we can hot glue them. But this is also why I don't normally do darker outer edges on eyeballs. The thing with follow me eyes, right, is they do follow to an extent. But the biggest thing is I don't want them to look unfocused. I don't want it to look like it's looking out in the middle of nowhere. So we try to, despite the pupil being directly in the middle of the eye blank, I try to shift it slightly closer to the inside of the eye blanks. Just a little bit, but like a few millimeters, honestly. Not super far. And it depends, too, on the head base itself and how far apart the eyes are, how necessary that is, what angle they're at. Since my eye blanks tend to be at a pretty steep angle, some head bases, the eye blanks are at like a 45-degree angle to the front view, right? So they're like this. Some head bases, they're flat, right on the front. In which case I don't need to edit because they already look like they're looking forward. This rotation is what makes that big difference. Because this one has a decent angle of about 45 degrees, 40, 45, I really do need it to look like it's looking more forward than it is. Because even if it's perfectly centered, it's going to look like it's looking outwards. Despite being follow me eyes. The other extreme to that is them looking cross-eyed, which can be very cute, but is generally not the look we go for. Especially not with this suit. This suit, we're going for a bit of a more realistic look. Oh, no, you didn't. Okay, good. There was a fuzzy, but that seems to have gotten on after I separated. Be flat, dang it. There we go. Cool beans. Now we have all of our eye blanks. And we know they'll work this time. I know, people, I know. I am planning in the future to sell eye blanks. So honestly, some of these mistake eye blanks, I should say, might be sold as a cheaper version of what I actually make. So the other set of these might someday actually get put out there. Nice. Cool, cool, cool. Alright. You. Gotta unplug that. Plug in the hot glue gun again, because we can finally hot glue. Huzzah! I think we're gonna swap spots for these. My desk is very warm now. It's a wonder I haven't, like, this is hot. It's a wonder I haven't set something on fire yet. That's why we actually sublimate. This is 100% cotton. Cotton actually has like a burning point of like 400 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that. So it can withstand these temperatures for quite a while before it's an issue. Which is why we sublimate on cotton. And that's also why most ironing boards are cotton. There's so much fuzzies on my desk. There we go. Problem solved. So. This is the wrong eyeball. Gosh darn it. Alright, hold on. Hold on. Someday I'll have a brain cell, I swear. I was like, man, this one's just not lining up. Because I sublimated the wrong eye. It's struggle busing today, I'll tell you what. Which then means I also need... Sorry, Bingo, I'm just putting cords all over your face. She's just laying here taking it. She's like, oh, well, what are you gonna do? Can't stop the cords from touching you in your eyeballs. Alright, scissors, scissors, scissors. Scissors? Scissors. I don't mind if I have extra black that ends up on this fabric. It's not gonna hurt anything. Let's try this again. I think I need a nap. I think I didn't get enough sleep, and that's why I can't sublimate the right eyeballs very often. And now I gotta wait for it to get back up to 10. Gosh darn it. Got an itch. That kind of makes me mad. What was this eyeball then? This was the secondary one. Weren't you one of the original ones? This was a left eyeball. This one didn't have enough. This one's good. I don't even know how I managed that. I don't know how I managed what I did. I don't know, man. I'm just a poor, confused little guy. Hot. Do not. We're working on it. We're working on it. Yeah, because this eyeball sits perfectly fine with a nice green outline. The other one, not so much. And I'm like, why? Why so dumb? Because they were the wrong eyeballs. That's why. this doesn't take me so long, but shoot. We might not even get them taped up and patterned before we're done today. Which was my original plan, because I didn't expect this to take so long. We might just spend the entire time just doing eyeballs today. Just not gonna lie, kind of annoying. But you know, it is what it is. Sometimes it be like that. Alright. Hot. Oh no. Goddamn corners. We sublimated a little off center. I knew he shifted. But that's okay because the actual eye color is still on the mesh, which is what's important. That also just means there's totally a chunk of eye mesh color on this fabric. That's funny. Anyway. This time for reals. Hello, hello! Thank you for the raid. How are you doing? Did you guys have fun? Hello, hello. What were you guys doing over on your stream? Say today we're working on installing some eyeballs in this guy, and it's been a struggle. We finally got them sublimated, and now we're just waiting for them to cool. I was hoping to actually get eyeballs and patterning done on this suit, but for now, it just is what it is. Hello, hello, hello. Let's see here. If you need to take a break after streaming, absolutely go ahead. Don't feel the need to stay here. I know I usually need a snack or something when I'm done streaming, so definitely don't feel obligated to stay. How are you guys doing? Anything exciting happened today? Oh, I gotta plug in the hot glue gun, otherwise I can't hot glue anything. Kind of important. We are struggle bussing today, is the theme. This is about the third or fourth set of eye blanks that we have sublimated. As you can see, this one was sublimated a little off center, which is fine, but it'll still function. But the issue we had is that outer ring on the outside of the mesh was not showing up on our eye blanks, so we had to reprint them until it actually did fit in the mesh, which finally we've gotten it to a point where it does. So yay! We just gotta hot glue them now. Yay! Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in, everybody. Oop. Hi, hello. How was your stream today? You guys do anything fun and interesting? We are waiting for our hot glue gun to heat up so we can glue our eyeball mesh onto our eye blanks. And we're hoping that by the end of stream today we'll get them installed in here and possibly get his head patterned for fur. So far it's just been me sublimating eyeballs because I can't seem to do it right for the life of me. Ooh! That sounds so pretty. Oh, I'm going to pop over and look at that. Feel free. Let's see. I should be able to. I don't have any mods in chat today because today's a slow day. Does this work? Yeah, there we go. Huzzah! I'm also figuring out how actual streaming tools work on the stream, so struggle bussing. Things are as they be. It is what it is. But today is just a big old struggle bussing day. Our table is currently very hot from the heat press. Working on it. I have a lot of things set up, but half of them seem to not want to work 90% of the time. So you know, progress is progress. We actually just finished a commission last week for a tiger bodysuit. So now we're doing this otter, and then up next should be parts for a cocktail pre-made I made a while ago. This I expect to take me a couple months because it's got a lot of fancy stuff with it. We're going to do a pickable nose. There's going to be a zipper in the head. There's going to be a head pocket. All kinds of cool things. So, yeah. I swear nothing ever wants to work. It wants to be annoying and tedious. I swear. Stream Elements, I should say, not Streamlabs. Stream Elements was giving me a hard time last week. Yup. Always struggle bussing. I'm a frequent rider of the struggle bus, I tell you what. All the time, always. But such is life. I'm gonna see if we can't center this nicely. There we go. Pop. Sticky. What in the world? There must have been some fuzzies on my 3D printer when I printed. Because now they're embedded in the bottom of this eye blank. My 3D printer has also been struggle bussing the last few days. We finally got it fixed and running, so we're finally doing the eyeballs for this guy. Because he was ready for eyeballs last week, and my printer was throwing a fit. So, you know, struggle bus. Always, always, always. That's alright, though. Very excited for some upcoming projects and cons. Very excited to see how this one turns out, just because there's a lot of fun extras on this one. Like I said, it has the head pocket, the pickable nose, stuff like that. But this is also going to be my first suit to have full body lining, so it will have a cotton lining in the entire bodysuit, which I can actually show you on the back of his head. We already have our face fully lined with cotton lining. I don't use neoprene just because I find it's very thick and warm, and I personally cannot stand the texture of neoprene. I thought about doing a different stretch fabric, but stretch fabric is also a pain in the butt to sew. So instead we just leave extra seam allowance and use some pinking shears to help prevent fraying. But we're going to do that nice red lining on the entirety of the inside of the bodysuit, which will look super beautiful and should hopefully be way more comfortable than just raw fur. I don't know why I'm doing this yet. I need to trim these. I'm a goof. Normally they get trimmed before I put them on the eye blanks, but you know, new day for everything. Yeah, this one's off center, so there's a little chunk that just doesn't have mesh on the top. That's okay, because you're not going to see that anyway. By the time you actually put the suit on, it's close enough to your face that it's not going to affect vision at all. Plus, with how I have this lined, it's entirely possible it'll be covered up by the inside anyway. So, it is what it is. Oop, there we go. But usually getting this mesh on the back of the eye blanks is fairly quick and easy to do. So, shouldn't take us too long. to get these fully installed in the head, and then we'll have a very cute face and not the creepy monstrosity that is a foam base with nothing in it. I do a lot of costume design and costume making. I know on Thursdays I do gaming, particularly old PC games I'm a big fan of. Eventually I want to try to get my PlayStation 2 hooked up to OBS, but that requires a capture card, which I do not have yet. Because I really want to go and play like my old... I have the original Spyro for the PS1. So old graphics and all that jazz. Right now we're on a Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 kick, because that is one of my favorite childhood games. So we do that on Thursdays, and then Mondays and Wednesdays we do fursuit making, because this is my full-time job. So I do this a lot. Sometimes, Coppermoth, I know you said crochet earlier. I actually have, I could show you so you guys can actually see. Let me skedaddle, I'll be right back. Alrighty, I have returned. Come in here. Are you ready to get in here, Baby Mans? Thank you. This is Baby Mans. Don't mind him. He's nosy. But this is actually my Persona patch. This is his 2.0 head. I made him last year. So this is generally what the finished product looks like for heads. He's a little furry at the moment. Yes, hello, Baby Mans. This is Forrest. He's nosy. But as you can see, he's got a lot of crochet detailing on him because I've been crocheting since I was 10. I love it. It's one of my favorite crafts. Unfortunately, it's not an easy career. I struggled to get into a yarn shop for years, and that went downhill, and it just didn't work out. But we've got Patch with his crochet detailing. So this is usually a suit that I wear when I go to fur meets or cons. Scoot, scoot, Baby Mans. I do also have a couple other suits and a couple personal projects that I feel that I'm going to be making later in the year, but those are a surprise. Yes, can I help you, sir? He has been waiting outside the office door this whole time because he was barking earlier, so we kicked him out. He has now returned and is nosy. In fact, this whole time there's actually a dog right here. Her name is Bingus. She sits in her little chair. It's a little chair, but it's a big dog. But she sits in her little chair and just hangs out there most streams. Both good dogs. Forrest is just nosy and talks a lot. He's a big complainer, but he's a puppy yet, so we're hoping he'll grow out of it some. Yeah, good boy. Exactly, exactly. This is one of those folding circular chairs, you know, the round ones. That was not her chair originally, but she has claimed it as her own because she's an old grandma and she's not going to lay on the floor if she doesn't have to. So, she's comfy. She curls right up in there and just takes a nap all day while I'm in the office. At this point, she's just happy to be here. They do. We do let them on the furniture in our house. I know a lot of people generally don't let dogs on their furniture, but I think that's kind of mean to make them lay on the hard floor all the time, especially since we only have the one dog bed because we don't have a lot of room for dog beds, and that's in our bedroom. So if we're in the living room, I don't want to make them lay on the floor, you know. So they get to cuddle up on the couch with me, and then we just have to carpet clean our couch every few months because, oh my goodness, it gets so gross. But if I'm on the couch and the dogs are not, and then I get up from the couch, you can bet your butt somebody is gonna steal my spot. There have been multiple times where I've gotten up for all of 5 seconds to get a drink or something, and I come back and, like, that's the thing. All three of us can fit on this couch. We do regularly. I sit all the way to the right, Bingus is all the way on the left, and Forrest is in the middle. And yet, I will get up, and he'll be like, oh, more room? This spot specifically? And he'll sit there like a people, like, this is my spot now. You cannot have. And I'm like, sir, as much as I'd love to give up my seat, my laptop is there, and I am actively trying to write an email. And he's like, not anymore, you're not. Spoiled little childrens. Yes, you are. You're both spoiled babies. But Bingus is usually pretty good. She's not a big cuddler anyway, so she tries to stay away from wherever I'm sitting. She just wants to be in the same room. She's like, I'm here, but I don't want to cuddle. Forrest, on the other hand, that couch could be full, and he will insist on taking the half an inch that's between you and the person next to you, and then he will lean as hard as he possibly can into you. He does not care about personal space whatsoever, which Bingus is not very happy about, because that doesn't just apply to people, that applies to her too. And she does not want him laying on top of her all the time, which he does. Same on. No sense of personal space. And of course now he's dead on the floor. Chilling, hanging out, taking a nap. He runs really hot anyway, so he likes to lay on the floor sometimes, just because it's cooler. Yeah. Are you comfy, Bingle? How was your nap? And she's like, I'm about to take another one. I'm not awake for this. Go. And that should be both of our eyeballs. I'm going to smooth this out a little bit because that's a big old bump. The hard part is trying to get glue on the mesh without it showing through the actual opening where the colors are. So now we got our mesh on our eye blanks. Ta-da! And they're very see-through at the moment because there's nothing dark behind them. But they exist. I'm actually going to trim this little excess bit right here. There we go. Maybe, mayhaps. There's little hot glue stringies I'm trying to get off. Sorry, they're not in the way. Come on. There we go. Maybe. And now we're going to go through the struggle of installing the eyeballs. Which you would think would be as easy as popping them in, but no, it's not. It's a pain in the butt every time, without fail. I sit in the chair by the front window. My big dog Sander will push his way onto the chair with me and then turn around and says, exactly, every time. He'll be like, I'm up here now. Oh wait, something is happening. And then I've got pure butthole in my face. I'm like, could you not? Please sit. I don't care if it's on me. I don't care if it's next to me. Just get your butt out of my face. Every time. I swear. Come on. I may have made this eye hole a little too tight. Wizard flowers, hello! Turns out I was just sneaky and hacked your account to make you follow. Haha, that's what you get. Hee hee hee. I believe I have rated you guys before, so it's possible you followed me from that. But hello. Oh, goodness gravy. Haha! Two-factor authentication is nothing against me. However, this eye mesh is everything against me. Why? Why will you not fit? Got it. No, I didn't. I lied. There we go. Good lord, that was difficult for nothing. Tell you what, we might not have to glue these things in. They're just gonna be there. Whoo-wee. The hard part is this is a little off angle. There we go. Nice! I will say that is one thing that has changed since I started lining my heads, is getting them in their eye sockets is exceedingly difficult. Upside, that means they're definitely in their eye sockets. Sheer will, nothing, dude. Hold on, I want to test something. Oop, maybe not this side, but the other side. That's not coming out. Those are in there now. We're still gonna glue them in, but you know. This is like when you're putting together furniture and the one piece of like shelf is just cut slightly too big for where you're trying to put it in, so you're beating the crap out of it to get it in there. Except it's eyeballs and a fursuit head. Come on. Come on, come on. There we go. I just want to check before I glue them that they are actually straight. This guy still isn't. That's better. Ta-da! Exactly, of course. It would be my luck that I would give this to the commissioner and literally day one eyeball pops out. For like, it could be held in with, I could solder, you know, like I could have welded eyeballs and they would just be like, no. Just to spite me. I was like, I swear to God. Something similar to that actually happened with one of my recent commissioners, Mustard. His suit has a lot of spikes, and I kid you not, the same day I gave it to him, one of the spikes came off. And we have determined that it was likely the thread untying its own knot, and then the seam popping off. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And then, not even a month after he's had the suit, there's a zipper in his bodysuit that's hidden. And he went to open it. Now, mind you, this pocket is in there. It's sewn all the way in there. He didn't break the pocket. He didn't pop any of the seams. He broke the metal part of the zipper, the actual zipper piece, split in half from top to bottom. Like, how? First off, how? Second off, how did that happen before you popped a seam? So we got that fixed. It's all fixed now, no problem. But I'm baffled by that. Because I'm like, you can't tell me that one's my fault. That one is absolutely not my fault. The first one, sure. You could argue that the spike falling off might have been a whoopsie doodle on my end. To be fair, there was like 60 of those spikes that I had to hand sew on there. But that one's not my fault. And I felt so bad. We ended up meeting up and getting it fixed nice and easy. The lucky thing is that he is local, so doing any repairs that he needs on his suit is generally really easy. That's not always true. I did have someone whose hand paw lining, they commissioned me well over a year ago now, but they were having some fraying in the seams of their hand paws in the lining. So I was like, we ended up getting that fixed. They had to mail it to me, unfortunately, but I mailed it right back less than a couple days later after it was fixed. Because I don't like people to be waiting on me, you know? Like, I don't, especially when it's an issue like that, where like it's just something broke and they can't fix it themselves. But every day we work to get better quality. My suits now are definitely much, much better than my suits from a year ago. And I could go grab patch 1.0 and show you guys the staggering difference between the 4th suit I ever made and the 20th or so suit I ever made, and this is the 40th. Actually, I think it's the 41st, but it's neither here nor there. It's a big difference, you know, when you've made... You live and you learn. And you struggle bus every day. Plus, you know, stuff's handmade. It's not always going to be perfect, but I strive for it to be as perfect as possible. Oh yeah, it's definitely a good skill to know how to do some basic sewing and things like that. But there's some things that are just a little more complicated, especially with a fursuit. I can't tell you how many times I've been out at a fur meet and someone's like, oh no, my seam popped. I'll be like, don't worry, I've got scissors and thread, come here. And in less than 5 minutes, I've got that seam completely fixed. you know, like, it's definitely a good skill to have. Granted, not everybody is good with their hands, you know, like, I've known several people who just cannot do on hands things very well, like, they just don't have that coordination or understanding, especially. Like, I feel like I have a little bit of, when I first started, I had a little bit of an upper hand on making fursuits, especially on the sewing aspect, just because I'd already been crocheting for so many years, and there is a decent amount of sewing to crocheting. And I feel like that, plus the stuff, like, I did a lot of stuffed animals, you know, like plushies and stuff, and I feel like that's fairly similar as far as, like, getting a three-dimensional shape to work how you want it to. So, but a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people were never taught how to actually tie a knot, or how to sew a basic stitch. Like, I remember as a kid in kindergarten, oh my god, wait, hold on. Professor Flowers? Have you changed your screen name? Because I might follow you on Discord, and if this is you, I have an apology to make. Because yeah, I used to, way years ago, yes, oh my god, so I have an apology for you, because one time, I'm on my phone, I'm so bad at Discord, I need you to understand, Discord is over my head, I use Telegram now, so, it's been so long, buddy, it's been so long. First off, I finally watched Good Omens. I finally watched it. Both the first 2 seasons. I haven't seen the 3rd season yet, because I still don't have Amazon Prime. But yeah, because you followed me back when I crocheted, so we've got the crochet boy. The little crochet boy. But there was one time I had commissioned someone for a fursuit, and this was around the same time that I stopped streaming years ago, because it's been a few years since I've actually streamed. And I was trying to communicate with them, and all of a sudden I hear this kind of jingle playing. I'm like, where is that coming from? And then I realized I had somehow managed to start calling you on Discord. And I was like, oh my god, no, how do I stop? Where is it? How do I stop it? And then nothing since. So I swear to god, I'm not a crazy person. I wasn't actually trying to call you. Oh, that's been stuck in my head for so long. Like, I really hope they didn't think I was just some crazy person calling a random person I met on the internet for all of 5 minutes. I swear I'm not. I swear. It's been so long. Yeah, I used to do a lot of crochet, and nowadays I do a lot of sewing. Oh, that's so funny. It's been so long. That would explain it, though. That really would. Small world. It was me. I did get your 2 off that. But yeah, no, I feel like the crochet definitely goes hand in hand with the sewing for fursuits, and it kind of just sort of worked out. Because I actually got into fursuit making on accident. I did not intentionally go, this is what I'm gonna do now. I saw a Mugiwara tutorial on YouTube for making a set of feet paws. And I was like, I could never do that. That's really cool, but I could never do that. I could do that. No, I can't. Yes, I can. And I was like, fuck it. We'll find out, I guess. And I bought the materials and I made some feet paws. And they were horrible. They are the worst set of feet paws I've ever made. They're about this wide. So you can't fit through a doorway with them. Side by side. And then I was like, well, if I'm making feet paws, I'm going to make a whole mini partial. So I made my first fursuit head. Also horrible. Super ugly, awful. I kind of wish I had streamed it here, because I feel like that's something that everybody needs to have seen, and that I need to have more proof of, other than the fact that my little sister currently has it at her house. But you know, I have some leftover yarn I'm arranging into the form of bag. Ooh, yes, bags. I love crocheting bags. I just don't use bags that often. Like, I do, but I don't, you know? I have, like, 2 bags that I just reuse for everything. And then, of course, I have so many reusable grocery bags. I had to buy a tote that rolls under the bed to store all the reusable grocery bags that I never use. So someday, those will find their purpose. That day is not today. But someday, they might. But so much has happened. So much has happened in the last... since I was streaming. Because when I started streaming, I was in college still. I have since graduated. I now have 2 associate's degrees. And now I do fursuit making as a full-time job. Like, I run an LLC. Like... And it's only been... what, 3 years? When was that? 3-ish, 3 or 4 years, you know, like, I went to my first FurCon, I went to multiple FurCons, thank you for the follow. It's been a wild couple of years. I got a new house key, then I had to start bringing my wallet everywhere. Yep, exactly. Exactly. I used to carry a purse. I hated carrying a purse because it hurt my shoulders. And now that I've switched to pants that have larger pockets, I'm very determined to make sure that everything I have either fits in the pockets or I will just hold it like a psychopath. Which is not the most practical thing, but... you know, I really don't want to carry a purse. Ads, no! How dare! Fuck! Throwing things. Oh, good lord. Oh. Oh, it's fine. It's just hitting the table. I've got to fight this guy to get hot glue where it needs to go. I really do. Hot glue stick. Oh yeah, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. We're good. It's fine. I know, watching me suddenly throw shit the second ads start. Because of course I do. Of course I would. Oh, goodness gravy. Oh! Hot fudge nuggets! Ow. Ow. Oh, hey, good. The ads are ending. Yay. I believe you can be free. You have been freed. Yay. So I would like you to know that in that whole chaos, I not only dropped the fursuit head, it was fine. I thought I broke him, and then I didn't. And then I burnt my finger on some hot glue. So, of course I would wait to commit chaos as soon as you couldn't hear any of it. Yeah, they're still in. They're fine. They're glued in enough at this point that they're not going to pop out. They're freaking in there. At least this one is. I'm still working on doing this eyeball. Haven't quite gotten to sealing that one all the way around. I will say I have never had, as far as I know anyway, I don't get a lot of updates for a lot of my suits. But as far as I know, I have never had an eyeball fall out of one of my fursuits. Even my first one still has its eyeballs. It's very shitty-ass eyeballs. Made out of foamies foam, the little sad sheets of foam, craft foam. But you know, it is what it is. I will say that's one thing that has never happened. Have I had things pop seams? Oh, dozens of times. It happens. Fleshy without that oh no! Not fleshy! With that fat, yeah. It kind of does look like I'm skinning something. This actually is custom fabric that I ordered because RIP Joann's died and took my favorite fabric with them. So I custom ordered my own fabric from Spoonflower. They have very nice cotton, by the way. With my little logo in there. So I have a light version and a dark version. This is the dark version. Let me see. I know I have a swatch around here somewhere of the light fabric. Is this it? Is this the light fabric swatch? Yeah. So I've got the dark version, of course. And then the light version, which is just the inverse. Because I like to do the lighter fur on lighter suits. which this one actually is going to get the light version because he's a lighter colored suit. The problem is I do have to put it dark in the face, because otherwise light coming through will reflect off the white fabric and make the person inside extremely visible, which we do not want. So, the back of his head will have white fabric, the front is going to keep having, has the dark. And then his bodysuit is going to have full lining. So, from head to toes, cotton fabric, it'll be very comfy cozy. Might be a little warmer than my suits usually are. I feel like adding the extra layer of lining definitely adds a bit of warmth to a suit. But, yeah. So we got this nice custom fabric. Because it has the custom fabric, I no longer need to embroider my logo with the embroidery machine over there. Which I also got to say. I have moved since we last talked. I'm no longer living in the apartment. I have actually physically moved locations. And I've gotten a lot of things since the last time you saw me stream. Because now we have a fancy printer and a sublimator, which means that these are actually waterproof. They're fully waterproof, which is dope. We have, underneath the white tarp over there, we have a Brother embroidery machine. That is the NQ1600E, which is a very nice machine. I paid good money for it, so I'm glad it works. Holy shit, you moved here? Oh my god! Do you like it here? I feel like that's a pretty hard question to ask these days. But I can't believe you moved here. But we've got that, we've got our big ass 3D printer. I need to show you, like, actually for comparison. We've got this big ass 3D printer. I could sit inside of it if I wanted to. Oh yeah. I say it really depends to what part of the US you're in, because like I know the South is very different from the Midwest, and the Midwest is very different from the West and East coasts and all that. So like, because I grew up in New York as a kid, and New York is very different from Michigan, which is where I live now. Oh goodness, you live in Florida. Florida's its own thing. Yes, it is. It's humid because you're right off the ocean. It's awful. It's so hot. Like up here, it's 70 today. Like 60s, 70s the last couple days. It's very nice right now. Good weather. My allergies hate it. But I cannot stand to be down south in the summer. It's awful. I have family that lives in Mississippi, which isn't too far from here, and I visit them. I visited them in the summer once, and I was like, I'm never leaving this house. Yup. I say it was in the 90s up here for a couple weeks. But that's about all we had, and my sister's like, nah, it's 100 here, and I'm like, and she works outside all day, and I'm like, I could never, I will not willingly live in the South again. Exactly, you just don't go outside, and that's the thing, too. A lot of houses up here, actually don't have central air. They do not have AC. There are a decent amount that do, but a lot that don't. In fact, the school that I graduated from, my high school, had no AC in it, despite the fact that sometimes it gets up to 90 or 100 degrees outside. They would just cancel school those days. They're like, nah, it's too hot. But tell you what, we're toasty in the winter. Every house has a heating unit, but it also gets pretty close to the negatives here. I know down there it doesn't get too cold. You're lucky if you get snow. Yeah, I know, it is weird. I feel like, especially these days, a lot more buildings are getting built in AC, which that school was not that old. But I'm surprised that there's schools here that don't, because even when I lived in New York, mind you, I lived in upstate New York, so I lived in the mountains, quite literally. Even they had AC, and I was like, yeah, I would say it's very weird to see snow down south. You only ever get like a half an inch or so, and then everything shuts down because they have nothing to do. There's nothing they can do. They don't have any salt trucks or plows or anything that are part of the state to actually go around and clear the roads. So when it snows, you're just shit out of luck. So I think in the 6 years that I lived in Alabama, there was maybe twice that it actually snowed during the winter. Otherwise, it was like, it snowed for 5 seconds and then immediately melted, you know, at most. Whereas up here, we regularly get 3 or 4 feet of snow. They do not. It's kind of funny. It's also very sad because you're like, I was gonna go grocery shopping today, and then all the stores are closed because people don't know how to drive the second it snows. To be fair, they don't know how to drive in perfect weather half the time either. So, but up here, we get several feet of snow throughout the winter, which is at least a few inches all throughout the winter. Last year, it didn't snow until after Christmas, though, and that was really weird. Because usually we get snow around by Halloween. Although, based on the last few years, we're probably not going to have snow on Halloween either. Or shortly thereafter. We'll probably be lucky to get them by Christmas again. Gosh dang, I'm taking my whole table with me. This table's cheap, and it's just paper topped. So I'm putting duct tape on it, it's just ripping off the tabletop. I'm mad, because it's a brand new table, but you know. Yeah, I say we get some pretty heavy storms. Actually, you would be surprised. Michigan gets a lot of tornadoes, especially in the last few years. Actually, I want to say about a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago. I'm very bad at my time frames. We had a tornado less than half a mile from our house. That was starting to funnel. It ended up not touching down until it was on the water, but I don't know that it's specific to big open places, because I know in Alabama, where I lived, there was also a lot of tornadoes that happened. And where we lived was very urban. Like, it was suburbs and towns, and there was pretty much no farms, which boggled my mind, because Michigan is a surprising amount of cornfields for those who don't know Michigan. It is mostly cornfields and sugar beets. Sometimes potatoes. You can grow a lot of shit here. Yeah. I know my parents were talking about the last hurricane too, because they're kind of caught on the edge of it. And they're like, we'll evacuate when they tell us to, but we don't care. It's not gonna hit on us. And I'm like, okay, crazy people. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here literally at my living room window trying to see the tornado that's down the road from us. And I'm like, I want to see it. I want to get it on camera. And everyone else is huddling in the bathtub. So it's like, meh. But we've had a few close chances this summer with tornadoes, surprisingly. Even more surprisingly, I swear to God, every time there's a chance for a tornado, 2 or 3 of them hit Detroit. Which, I don't know why there's a major city where there's always tornadoes, but Chicago's the same way. Chicago also seems to get hit particularly regularly with tornadoes. It's very weird. But no, I live out, I guess you could call it rural. It's considered urban rural. So it's technically housing properties. It's not farmland, but also my backyard is literally a farm directly behind it. They're growing corn this year. Last year, the last couple of years, they grew beans. But this year, they're growing corn. So, you know, it is what it is. Is this the side I actually wanted to tape down? Yeah, I think so. Maybe. I think I actually wanted to tape this side of his face because it was more shallow. I did. Alright, I taped this whole half of his face for nothing. We had a few tornadoes randomly come through a while ago. Oh yeah, I'm sure. We've had several... There's a lot of people who've had power outages out this way. I feel like a lot of the... Well, it's very weird. Like I said, I live in an area that's not considered rural, but it is at the same time. So, like, you're allowed to have goats so long as you're not too close to your neighbors, which we are. So, like, directly behind us is a farm field. Directly in front of us is a town. And then over there is all woods. Nothing but woods. And it's very weird. But there's a lot of farms and stuff out this way. And we're right off the lake, too. So, then there's a lake. It's a Great Lake. It's basically a tiny sea. Right. To be honest, most cities aren't that exciting anyway. Aside from, like, the particularly busy... Like, around the airports, you know, is always chaos. But everywhere else is meh. That's just generally... I feel like most cities across the U.S. are fairly similar. And, like, there's a difference between a small city and a big city by a long shot. Because there's, you know, Bay City and Saginaw are cities. But that's, like, where you go grocery shopping or to the mall. Then you've got, like, Detroit, and that's just where you go when you need to get on a plane and you can't do it from the MBS or something, you know? That is true. That's the thing. Like, there's the big cities where there's stuff to do, and then there's the little cities where there's not stuff to do, and then there's some cities that just, why are they even there? But yeah, that's fair. I feel like there's not much to do around anywhere aside from buy food, you know? Like, the most interesting thing close to us probably is the mall. Like, at least that we can afford. Otherwise, it's some overpriced Sky Zone shit. Like, trampoline park that I can't afford. It's like, well, everything else is fast food. And I'm like, why is there so many clumps of fast food places around nothing? It makes no sense. But yeah, like, I regularly drive about an hour to go to events and stuff because that's the closest place that does big events. Like, we have Frankenmuth not too far from us. I know a lot of people have heard of Frankenmuth. They've got Bronner's. Frankenmuth's overrated. It's a tourist town, you know? It's just like every other tourist town. There's stuff there. They got nice areas to walk around at, but other than that, meh. That is, however, where my vet is, so I have to drive to Frankenmuth every time my dog's got to get their shots. But, like, up here, nothing. I don't have my permit for now, but I drive wherever we go anyway. Well, that's fun. I say, yeah, I had my learner's permit for a few years when I was younger, because here you can get them at 15, and then you can get your license at 16. So I got my permit when I was 15. But then we moved, and then we were busy. And then by the time I actually got my license, I was 17, almost 18. And we confused the lady at the DMV, because not only did I have a permit, I had an Alabama permit, and I was at a Michigan DMV. And she was very confused. She's like, are you sure this isn't a license? And I'm like, it says learner's permit across the top. Yes, I'm sure it's not a license. So she literally just was like, okay, go get your picture taken, I guess. And then gave me my license. I was never road tested. I took a written test, don't get me wrong. But I was never road tested. And I'm like, oh my god. You're lucky I actually read the learner's manual. And that I take that shit seriously. Definitely gotten worse in the last few years. Yeah. I could imagine, like... Although, to be fair, I feel like a lot of those people aren't trained properly in their jobs. And even if they are, they don't care. Like, mind you, I went to a government building with Sarah Bingus. She is my retired service dog. So at the time we were renewing her license, which I'd never had an issue with before, because in the US for service animals, the only thing they can do is ask you, is it a service animal for a disability? And is it task trained? That is the only requirements. They cannot ask you for ID, they cannot ask you for paperwork, nothing else, because a lot of people do owner train their service animals, like I did, because I could not afford $50,000 to get a professionally trained dog. She was very good at what she did. She was very well behaved, so we went in there to renew it. And the first thing she says is, okay, well, can you give me her ID? And I'm like, there is no ID. It says that on the government website that there is an ID. She's like, well, Michigan has an optional ID. Keyword there, optional. No, she does not have an ID. So then they were trying to refuse me, and I was like, that is illegal. You cannot refuse it. That is illegal. And then they sat there and they got pissed off, fed up, so they just gave me a 1 year when I wanted a 3 year. And they're like, well, we can't give you a 3 year because you didn't give us an ID. And that still, to this day, pisses me off. But luckily, because of that, I can now call in and be like, hey, my service dog needs her license renewed. And they're just like, okay, we'll send it to you in a couple weeks. And I'm like, cool. Because I am not dealing with that. But that, it makes me mad. Oh, yeah, that probably isn't helpful either. Yeah, I say I've started getting stuff like that too lately. Which, well, because my documents say female, I don't necessarily, like, I get people confused a lot. They don't know what I am. Which was very funny when I worked at Joann's before they died. Because I would get little old ladies that would come in, they'd be like, sir, and then I'd turn around, they're like, ma'am, sir, person, whatever you are, please help me. And I'm like, yeah, you're good. So, you know, it is what it is, but it definitely can be, like, I've had doctors be like, yeah, do you go by anything? And I'm like, no, I still just go by my legal name, especially at doctor's offices, because doctors get extremely confused when you don't go by your legal name for some reason. Yeah. I say, like, it's... Insurance is dumb, too. Like, it's... It is what it is. I'm currently 6 months on, so not a whole lot, but enough that it's noticeable. And that I'm right in the middle. Because I can go, you know, bubbly high voice still. I can get up here. But most of the time I talk down here, and I think it throws people for a loop. Because I also don't bind or anything. So they're like, why does that man have boobs? And I'm like, because it's hot. It's 90 degrees. I'm not doing all that. And for me, it's not as bad, you know, like it annoys me, but since starting it's been better. It actually, lots of TMI information up in there that I'm not gonna dig into. Oh, thank you, cool, that's nice, that's good. I feel like lately I definitely have been, but also a lot of times I feel like I don't, and I definitely confuse some people. Sometimes people are like, why is this 12-year-old boy at the bar? And other people are like, why is this grown woman have short hair? And I'm like, because I feel like it, that's why. I do get carded a lot. Like, a lot. They try to ask me where my mother is, and I'm like, yep, exactly. Well, that's the thing, too. I'm 5 feet tall. I am not tall in the slightest. I am very short, even for a woman. So people look at me and they go, that 12-year-old is missing his mother. He is lost. Where is your mommy? And I'm like, I'm actually here because I paid for this hotel room. And they're like, that is a fake ID. There is no way. And I'm like, no. I promise I'm old. Like, I'm closer to 30 than I am to 15. I hate to tell you. But it definitely confuses people sometimes. Oh, that's funny. Haha, short people for the win. But there was a lot of times, like in high school, actually, because when I transferred here, the high school here is also the middle school. They're merged. And there was once or twice that I had to run an errand for a teacher, and they'd be like, hey, can you go talk to so-and-so in the middle school wing? And I'd be walking down the halls without a pass, and they'd be like, whose classroom are you in? You're not supposed to be here. You need to get back to class. And I'd be like, first off, I'm a senior. Like, I am not taking any of your bullshit right now. Leave me alone. Also, I'm running an errand for a teacher. You don't even know. This is a small school. My graduating class had 80 students. So the fact that they didn't know me at all should have been a red flag for them. Because it's tight enough that there's maybe 400 kids in the entire high school, and they've all gone to school together since they were in elementary. Very small school system. So the teachers knew all of the kids, for the most part, you know. Like, but she was chill about it. She was like, oh shit, my bad. Like, we thought you were a middle schooler because you're short and have tiny baby hands. And I'm like, I know I have tiny baby hands. I know. I was only there for 2 years, so I definitely did not know everybody. But most of the other schools I went to also had graduating classes of well over 1,000 students. So I've had several schools where I've gone to classes with people and I've never met a person in my grade. Like, there's multiple people that I've never met that I went to class in the same year as. Because that's just how big the schools were. And that boggled their mind. Like, they were baffled when I said, oh yeah, like, the average classroom size for most of the schools I've been to is 30 students in a classroom. And they were complaining because there was 15, and that's too many kids in one class. And I'm like, 15? 15 students is not a lot of students for a single classroom. And they're like, well, we're used to there being, like, 8. And I'm like, that's weird. You guys are weirdos. But this was also a small school in the middle of nowhere, so... I did like it better than any of my other high schools. I will give it that. Definitely the best education I got was from that school in particular. I also went to a fairly small college. There was maybe 40 students at most, as far as a large class size went. Most of the classes were fairly small, so that was dope, you know. Taping. This duct tape is so thin. It's cheap duct tape. But it gets the job done. There we go. Oh, they so do. Smaller classes are so much better because it's not... When you have the bigger classes, there's first off a higher chance that there's just going to be some asshole who thinks he's hot shit and is going to do nothing but be a dick, distracting class the whole time, and then the teacher's going to spend the whole class time yelling at him. So then nobody learns anything. But also, with the smaller class, it's a lot easier to, first off, ask questions when you need to, because you're not waiting on 15 other kids to also ask their questions. But then, like, it's easier to bond and talk to your classmates, just because there's not so many strangers. Oh, God. Not the cringe teacher. Oh, that's hilarious. That is perfect, actually. That is good stuff right there. We had some funny teachers. We had a teacher that was very specifically known for discussing the bell-shaped curve and birds, because he was a conservation teacher. God, words are hard, man. Still one of my favorite teachers to this day. In fact, I think I saw him recently at a waterfowl show that was going on nearby, because there's a lot of hunting around here. Unfortunately, it was not as many birds as I hoped. It was not, in fact, a lot of ducks. It was a lot of guns, which was a little disappointing. And I was like, oh, God, good Lord. I came here for birds. I came here to look at ducks, and instead I got guns and people selling backyard bred dogs. So that was cool. The puppies were very cute. They're all bred as hunting dogs, so they're at least bred for a purpose, but still, they were not. It was not great. Not my best experience. But, like in college, I took ceramics in college, and my first ceramics class was very, very chill. We all sat there talking shit, you know, hanging out, chatting while we did our pottery. In fact, there was one time, we were all sitting there, and mind you, there's one, like, 50-foot long wall that is nothing but window. And we're all sitting there doing our ceramics, our pottery, doing our projects. And we're like, man, it's looking funky outside. Like, the clouds are purple, the sky is green, things are happening. And then my teacher goes, oh shit. Everybody else is huddled in the basement right now, because that's a tornado. Do we want to go downstairs? And literally the whole, like, 9 of us in this class looked at each other and went, we gotta get this project done, man. Like, we gotta finish our pottery. So we gave up, and we just sat there and watched the sky swirl and change colors, which was very pretty, mind you. It ended up not touching down, thank God. But we had no fucks to give. Oh yes, college was amazing. I do miss going to college sometimes, but at the same time I do not miss spending that much money. Because I went to, again, a small 2-year school. I got associate's degrees. Not undergraduates, associates. I spent it cost me well over 20 grand at that school for those degrees, which only took me like 3 years to get, by the way. So it was expensive. They were charging me $600 for a 3-credit class. And I had like 4 or 5 of those per semester. It's awful. And that's a small school. That's the affordable college. It was dumb. But I never ended up going to a bigger college. I was originally going to get a bachelor's in zoology. And then I didn't. Because turns out I'm really, really bad at chemistry. And they wanted you to have a really high-level chemistry class by the end of it. And I was like, I can't get past level 2. I can't get past the second chemistry class. And they want me to get up to, like, the 300s. And I couldn't get past 112. So I was like, no. Guess I'll change my degree. So then I got an art and design degree. And I realized, because I had so many freaking credits, that if I took, like, 4 more classes, I could also get a science degree. Oh, yes, I love biology. Not cellular biology. Hate it on the cellular scale. But overall biology. Big fan. This school is actually known for their medical courses. A lot of nursing students went there. So they had a whole beautifully updated, renovated wing for the nurses. And then the art wing literally had a leak in the roof for the entire time I went there. That the teachers would just drag out the big trash cans to sit underneath the leaks. Because instead of fixing the leaks, they built an auditorium and a stadium instead. As if I wasn't also paying 20 grand for my classes. I'm still mad about it. Still salty. But, tis the life of an art student. But, yeah, no, so I ended up getting a science degree less than a year later. I just took 2 more semesters to fill in those credits. And honestly, those credits that I filled in were just more art classes, so... Yes! Genetics is so fun! It's so interesting to know how, like, certain genes move from parent to child, but also skipping generations and stuff like that, and how they're tied to the X chromosome or a specific chromosome that's passed down and whatnot, and how some genes might just be double recessive and simple like that, where it's like you just need one from each parent, and then other genes are like, well, it's more than that, because you need that, but you also need this completely other gene to also be activated for that thing to happen. Ow, my elbow. Like, it's so interesting. I'm kind of mad, because I took a behavioral genetics course, and this was during COVID. This is when all the lockdowns and shit were going on, so I had to do it online. And rather than actually teaching about genetics and how it affects behavior and how behavior affects genetics, they instead spent the entire semester talking about COVID and the COVID vaccine. And I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Exactly, yes, codominant and incomplete, exactly. God, that was, because I used to be very interested in parakeets. Growing up, parakeets was like a very hyper-focused topic for me. So I spent years studying them, and that's when I first started getting into genetics, was learning how parakeet patterns actually emerge. Because like the blue, oh, you've been attacked, buddy. My fursuit head fell on my dog. He's fine. He's just very confused. But like the fully blue and white birds is a completely recessive thing. But it depends on whether or not that blue trait is there in the first place from the original yellow-green birds. And then yellow versus a yellow-green bird is a whole thing. Because I actually had a solid yellow parakeet growing up. And then I also had a blue and white bird, blue and white parakeet and such like that. So I never got too far into how their genetics actually works. I was in like 5th grade at the time. I was 12, you know, but... Yes, exactly. Yes. Kind of like calico cats. Calico cats are very weird in so many ways. But that patterning is very much a codominant trait, because they show like their tabby colors, but they also show their other colors from their other genes. But calicos are just really, really weird. It's also interesting, across a lot of animal species, point is a very common coloration, where it's like just the ends. And it's very interesting to see that that's kind of just how the cells grow, is like you get your pigment from the ends up to the center of the body first, which is very weird considering that a lot of animals develop in utero like inside out and not outside in, so the limbs and stuff like that are some of the last parts as far as that goes that are developed and not the center, which is really weird. It's not? Wait a minute. Like, right, but that's the thing. Point doesn't just show up in Siamese cats. It also shows up very regularly in dogs. That's why you get the pattern like Rottweilers have, where they have the coloration, the masks on their faces and stuff like that. Which is very interesting, because you can see it a lot in poodles, because poodles, most often you'll see in solid colors, like Forrest is, but they also come in colors like Party, which is just where they have chunks of color around them. But it's so weird. Right, I know, that's why the Siamese are like that. But it's different for, like, the dogs and stuff and those sort of points. It's very weird how, like, those colors show up. Because it's not just, oh, well, it's darker there. It's usually a lighter color that's on the face. But it's really weird. You know, like, just how coloration patterns tend to happen more so around the face and feet than they do anywhere else. With the exception of, you know, like, full body patterns, obviously. I need to look into that more. But yeah, I forgot, the Siamese cats, yes, that is very much a temperature thing. Cats are just weird. Genetically, they're just weird all over. But so are dogs. Dogs are also genetically very weird. I guess you are. Weird little babies. I got 2 noodle dogs. Right, exactly, white patches and stuff like that. But you'll get a lot of breeds who have white patches that specifically develop on the points. But they might spread further or not, depending on what genetics they have. It's so weird. Genetics are weird. You're weird. Bingus is a very weird dog, because she's definitely a lab mix, right? She's got the lab face, she's got the lab coloration, but she's also 60 pounds and 90% leg. She's a tall, lanky dog. She's a little chunky these days, but if you were to shave her down, right? If you were to actually shave all of her fur off, you would discover that she is covered in, she's got white skin with black spots. She's covered in these, like, patches and spots all over her body, which is really weird. And she's got a red nose. It's odd for a lab. But we got her from a shelter in Alabama, actually. We lived there. And all of her siblings looked just like her except for one. She had a brother who was solid black with a little white diamond on the chest. And that was it. Yes! It's so weird. Ugh, I need to get back and looking at genetics some more, because it's been so long since I've been able to, like, just sit down and look at it. Because, like, lately a lot of the brain power has been going towards coding and programming. Because I have a project that is going to involve some electronics, and I know nothing about electronics. Like, I barely know how to solder 2 wires together. That's about the extent of my electronic knowledge. So now we're trying to figure out how to actually install some programmable electronics into the fursuits. Which is fun, but, you know, it is what it is. The white segregates the colors, but it prevents them mixing together as much as you get calico rather than toy. Except, like, right? Like, it's so weird. Tortoiseshells are just so pretty sometimes, though, honestly. My grandmother actually had a male calico named Callie, because for years she thought he was female. Turns out, no. And I'm like, what do you mean you didn't know? You didn't get him fixed? They didn't go in there and be like, this cat doesn't have a uterus. Like, it's very interesting. In poodles, actually, there is what's called a dilution gene, specifically with the black poodles. I don't know if it occurs in other colors, but it's definitely more noticeable with the black poodles. So you'll have 2 parents that have black coat colors, right? Solid black. Forrest, come here. Solid black. Just like this guy, you know, whatever. They get this nice little coat. They're cute as puppies. Solid black puppies. But if they have the recessive dilution gene, then you'll end up with a puppy that comes out solid black, but by the time they're fully grown, you'll usually see it in their face first. They kind of turn like a blue-gray color, and then their coat will actually fade to like a silver, which is really, really pretty and insane. I would kill to have a poodle with a delusion doing that. It just looks so pretty to me. But you're also pretty too. You're also a little baby. Yes, you are. You're just a big old noodle baby. Yes, you are. Oh, big stretch. Oh, big stretch. You're just a baby. Yes. So, yeah, exactly. Like, it's very, very weird. But, like, their skin changes color, too, because his skin is actually, like, a blue-gray color underneath. You can't really see it because he's not shaved super short right now, but, I mean, he is shaved short, but his skin's almost blue. And it looked way more blue when we brought him home at 2 months old. Like, he was so blue. And I was like, what? That's so weird. These days, he looks more grayish. Definitely a dork. Yeah. But there's even some poodles, you can get a solid black poodle that is gray skin, so when you shave them short, they look like they have a really light face and light feet when you shave them down, but then they have the nice dark black fur. It's very weird. He also gets sun bleached very easily. Like, we don't grow out his fur super, like his mother, she was in a full poodle cut, you know, Miami, whatever. So she had the long, fluffy ears. We try to keep ours short because he tends to get ear infections. But his mother, in photos, looks like a brown poodle. She's solid black. Her genetics are solid black. But because they sun bleach so easily, they look brown. And you'll see whenever we grow his fur out a little longer, especially on his face, from his spit and stuff too, also acidifies it. But even just being out in the sun, his hair, the end of his hair will get really brown tinted, and I think that's really funny. So yeah, yes you do. You can really brown tint his hair. You're just a baby. Oh yes you are. He's a big old cuddle. But do you want up here? Do you want uppies? Since we're talking about you, yeah. That's the saddest little hop I've seen in my life. Yeah, come here. Oh, it's a big baby. Oh, it's a big baby. Look at you under the collar. Oh, yeah. So this is Forrest. Yes. Well, that was impolite. Are you good, buddy? Choking on your own spit there? You good? Ooh, big stretch. Are you done? Is that all your stretching? All your stretching? Oh my goodness. He's a big baby. He's high energy, cuddly, wants attention all the time, big baby. Why are you sniffing me? What, you little snorty pig? What you doing? Oh, you gotta go potty? Oh, you gotta go potty? Okay, hold on. We will be right back. I gotta let the dogs out. And we return, now that the dogs have had their potty break. Huzzah. But yeah, no, he gets sun bleached so easily. And honestly on him, I think it kind of just looks dirty more than it does pretty. Because it really just turns him into an ugly shade of brown. And it looks like I don't bathe him. And I'm like, I swear to God, it's not mud. He just looks really ugly when he sun bleaches. So I tend to trim the ends off pretty frequently whenever he's, especially in the summer, when he's getting bleachy. But he's usually not too bad in the winter. We keep him short most of the year, as far as his fur goes. Just because, first off, it's easier maintenance on him. But also, he just is so toasty. Ooh, hog noses! You know, my sister would lose her mind right now if she heard about this. Because my sister is very into reptiles. She's been breeding some day geckos lately, and she's looking into getting another breeding pair for one of her other lizards. She's got a lot of different. She's got geckos. She's got a bearded dragon. She's got lots of frogs and stuff like Pac-Man frogs and such. She's so much into it. Oh, she's been trying to convince my mom to get a snake. My mom says no, because unfortunately she still lives at home. But yeah, I will let her know. Because like I said, they're in Mississippi, so she's not far from me. I'm sure she'd be willing to drive for a snake. She was talking to me recently about a reptile expo somewhere. There's one coming up in November, she said. That's not bad. Yeah, I figured they'd be. The hognoses are so silly. They're so cute. Personally, I'm a sucker for the ball pythons. I really like a lot of the patterns that you can get out of ball pythons and stuff. And they're just so cute with their little puppy faces. But hognoses are so goofy. Like, they're just silly little guys, you know? Oh yeah, they're everywhere. But that's the thing, it's because they're popular. They're popular. So everybody's got them, everybody's breeding them. And of course, I'm sure there's some people that are like, this rare color, and it's not rare at all. In fact, if anything, it's bad for them to have that coloration for some reason or another, I'm sure, you know? Like, I guarantee there's a bunch of that out there, too. Just like there are in dogs, you know? Just like with the fluffy Frenchies or the doodles or things like that, where there's just poor breeding practices going on all around. I'm sure it's probably just as bad in the reptile world. I don't know a whole lot about reptiles. I just know that the pythons have such cute little faces. The bearded dragons are also adorable. They're just my sister's bearded dragon. His name is Bernie. He's about this big right now. Like, he's a good foot long easily. And he is a cuddle bug. Like, I swear to God, he's like a dog. He will follow you around the house. Oh, does it? See, because I hear about the spider morph a lot. And they're like, look at this. And I'm like, I don't like that you're advertising this one specific morph over others for just visible reasons, just because it looks cool, you know? What is my sister? Not salamander. She's got this one lizard that looks like a bitch. But it's just her face is shaped like that. Leopard gecko. That's what she has. She has this big-ass leopard gecko. She doesn't like being handled. Most of her reptiles are pretty good about being handled, but she's a little picky. Her attitude does match her face. I will tell you that. Got a lot of sass for a 6-inch lizard, you know. Very silly. But most of her lizards, she's also got a chameleon that she's not happy about, because, yeah, no. It's the same thing with, like, the poodle breeders that also breed doodles, or Bernedoodles, or Labradoodles, or just any sort of mixed breeders, because they're like, oh, well, we're breeding for healthy genes. No, you're not, because you don't even know what genes your dogs have. You're breeding a mutt on purpose, and then promising people stuff that you can't guarantee, you know? Oh yeah, she's got all kinds of attitude. She's a sweetheart. Bernie's a big old cuddle bug though. Anytime she gets him out, he'll like climb up on her and take a nap and just hang out for a few hours, you know, and then beg her for more mealworms. He's a cutie patootie. Yeah, she started getting into the reptile and stuff the last few years. She's got a few insects too. She's got well, that's the thing, because you can like breed a purebred poodle and get a litter that has a bunch of different colorations and stuff. Like you could get a poodle with certain genes and breed it with another poodle with certain genes and get poodles that are healthy, genetically healthy, right? And that are purebred poodles that you can guarantee temperament and stuff on because of their family lineage and their temperament. They are in fact poodles and how big they'll get and things like that. Versus the doodles where they just mix a random dog together. But you can get a litter that has a chance for solid black puppies, red puppies, or apricot puppies, or party puppies, you know. Like there is a lot of variation in a lot of breeds where you could do that with. Especially when you get into breeds that have like patterned coats, because then you can get variations of different patterns, you know, like even with just party poodles. They might all be red and white parties, but where those color patches show up is different for every single one, and it's so pretty sometimes, and so ugly other times. Like, sometimes it just does not work out. But then every once in a while you get one, and it's like, oh my god, that one's so cute, it just frames your face so nicely, you know? There's some very specific genes they carry, but my coffee is a gamble. Chance for pet, whatever. Only a chance to get whatever. Gotcha. See, because like, that's the thing. Like, I know there's so many variations, but I've seen some breeders that explain how some of the breeding, specifically like with ball pythons and stuff, I've seen some videos where they're like, oh, we bred these two snakes, and the dad was this breed, was this kind of pattern, and the mom was this kind of pattern, but I know this mom has this recessive gene or whatever, you know, like, so they wanted to see what they got, and they'll get like 3 or 4 different morphs, and you'll see how certain morphs lay over top almost, like you'll see, I don't have a specific one in mind, but it's very interesting to see how, like, you'll see the base pattern for the one morph, and then you'll see the actual color patterning of a second one kind of on top of it. Almost like a transparent layer on Photoshop. And I'm like, that's so weird. Because dogs don't do that, you know? Like, maybe if you want to argue, like, body shape and color, you know, like Sarah's not a lab body shape, but she is lab colored. It's very interesting to see how that works with reptiles in particular. Same with cats. Like, cats are also very weird with how their color patterns work. But they don't, like, mammals do not do what reptiles do with that color variation, you know? I think sometimes you do see it in birds, particularly the more colorful ones, like parakeets, where you can get the blue and white parakeets, the yellow and green, and the solid yellow, stuff like that. But you can get patches as well. You might get a dark blue, like a light blue versus dark blue bird, so then you end up with a cloud look on their bellies or something, you know? Of course, I have found, generally speaking, not always, I have generally found that actually the blue and white parakeets, the ones that don't have the yellow and green genetics, tend to be more temperamental. They tend to be less friendly than the yellow or the yellow and green birds, which is interesting. And I don't know if it's just because they're more likely to get brought up for the sake that they're pretty than anything else, or if it's actually a genetic factor. Snakes have 2 different pigments for their color, unlike humans who are pretty much just melanin. See, that's interesting. I did not know that about snakes. I'm about to deep dive into the world of snake genetics after this, I tell you what. We should be sitting here sewing later, doing nothing but snake genes. Learning about you. It's like, it's fun, you know? It's like a puzzle. Genetics, especially with things like that, is like a puzzle. Because it's like, It's like a kaleidoscope. You shake it and you get a look. You turn it some and you get a different look. You shake it again, you get a whole new thing. Like, people don't do that, you know? Interesting. See, and this also makes me think of like horse genetics, right? From what I hear and from what little I know of horse genetics, you can get 4 horses that look fucking identical and have completely different genetics. And how those genetics work is a mystery. Apparently, even to the horse people. Look. It's very weird. And I'm like, that's bright orange. Oh, I see what you're saying. So, okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Because they don't have that darker orange that would make them more of a... that darker shade that make them more of a browner color. So that would technically be albinism on that gene, but because it's not on both of them, it's orange and not white. Yeah, I know what you're talking. Because Amber was just showing me a snake that was orangey like that. I was like, ooh, that's like a pumpkin. It's like a pumpkin. Oh, that's the most orangey snake I've ever seen in my life. I think she was showing me, because leopard geckos have a lot of color variations too, so she was showing me a couple different leopard geckos. There was one that was like a midnight black color, and I was like, interesting. Huh. Snakes are so weird, man. It is very weird. I wonder, now this makes me wonder, because I'm thinking about it, like my sister, like I said, she has the reptiles, she has the amphibians, whatever. She also has some bugs. First off, she breeds crickets for her, like she just has a whole box of crickets for all her reptiles, because you kind of got to when you have, 20 plus reptiles. But she also has a pet scorpion, whose name is Waffles. And she has a tarantula, whose name I forget. But I know tarantulas, certain species come in different colors and color patterns. So I wonder how that works for them. If it's more similar to snakes and stuff, or if it's more similar to mammals, because that's bugs. That's a whole other thing, and like it's a whole other thing. So I wonder. Sounds like a bad day for my sister to be missing stream. She'd be losing her mind right now. Because each snake is displaying the missing color in the other. See, that's very weird. Like, so then, if you were to, like, let's say you were to breed those two together, then would that mean that there's a possibility that you would get a snake that just looks like a normal fucking snake, a snake that looks like each of the parents, or a snake that looks like neither of the parents, nor a normal snake, because it would lack both? I guess you have to go more complicated into what other genes that the parents have, but you know. Because it's kind of like a recessive on a recessive, almost, kind of deal. Like, this gene does this, but this gene also does that, but only when it's present in both, and yada yada. Huh. So you just end up with normal babies. That's interesting. See, I feel like that's the issues, because like in high school and stuff, right, because they're both recessive. In high school and stuff, they really just teach you the basic Punnett squares, and that's as complicated as they get with genetics. And I wish they went deeper, because I would love to learn more, like especially with like how it's not just recessive, and it's not just, recessive, codominant, dominant. There's also, well, this can't happen unless both of these are present. You know, kind of like with the whole, you can't really get an albino snake without both of those being gone. And even then, you still get a gray snake if it's not a white snake. With that whole thing there, like, that's all so dependent. If you bred those babies together, a quarter of the babies would be snowmel, a quarter would be xanthic, and a quarter would be snows. See, that's interesting. And that makes sense. But they don't really go over that, you know? They're just like, one gene, brown eyes versus blue eyes. Right, it would be more normals. See, and like, that's so weird. It's so weird. All of it's so weird. And like, if we could actually sit here and we could discuss Forrest's genes exactly. Maybe not his exactly, but we could discuss his parents' genes. Because my breeder actually lists their coat genes on their website. Which is why there's actually, his father has fathered several other litters aside from his. His was a very small litter, but his mother has only had a couple litters. And the litters that she's had were all solid black, because when you breed his father and his mother together, there's only a chance for solid black puppies. But his father does have genetics for a red coat color in him. So he's been bred with another girl a couple times, and each time they have party litters that are multicolored reds mostly. But recently they also had a litter between, I believe, him and another girl. No, the ads! They have returned! They have returned! No! Back. I'll blab more when you come back, I guess. I don't want to blab while you're gone. How dare. Yelp. Yelp. Don't worry, we shall suffer through the ads. Ad break, ad break, ad break, ad break. Yay, no more ad break. The most boring 90 seconds of my life. And it's all because I had to shut up for 2 seconds while talking about genetics. Someday I might be able to actually turn ads off, but today is not that day. But, recently, I believe this was him, I might be wrong. But there was a litter that the breeder had, and it's got 3 little black babies, 3 little, apricots, I believe, if I remember right, and a couple of reds. I read it for a single gene is easier. Okay. Both parents are hetero for a male. Okay. So we got, yeah, parents have the same thing, but they're not the same. They're not like this. Is there enough tape on this ear? God only knows. I wanted to pull the ears backwards. I forgot about that because they're leaning forward and I did not like that. I'm going to pull this ear and adjust it. Stay. You breed them and there's a 50% chance that each parent passes their gene on, which works as 25% of babies having 2 copies. Right. Because there'd be 25% that have 2 of the dominant, 25% that have 2 of the recessive, and then 50% that have the same. Your classic Punnett. Eh. 2 in 3 chance of them carrying. Interesting. Huh. See, that is interesting. 66%. See, and that's where genes get complicated, and that's where they don't teach you in high school, because they're like, math is hard for idiots, and you guys are all idiots, so we're not teaching you math. It's hard enough to get people to figure out what a quarter of something is, much less a third. Which, that was a thing. Wendy's released a third-pound burger over here. People legitimately didn't order it because the quarter-pound burger was bigger at McDonald's. Which is stupid all around. But that, you know, not surprising in the slightest. Right, right. Math is confusing. And also, I'm getting hungry because it is almost dinner time here. I still have so much taping to do. I really don't. I just have to do his lower jaw. This is why I got an art degree, though. Eventually, stuff gets complicated. Mostly in the chemistry aspect. Which kind of made me mad, because I was going for like a biology-based degree. But no, I had to know an assload of chemistry on top of it. And I am not that good at chemistry. Which, like, I get, you know, you gotta know, like, what chemicals interact with what other chemicals for certain things. But that's so much easier than actually learning chemistry. You know? Like, you could sit here and tell me, oh, hey, don't mix bleach and ammonia because that creates nitrate gas. Great, cool, I'll remember that. I'm not gonna know the fucking chemical equation for it, though, even though I probably could write it out at this point. Hognose is in that kind of situation. Her parents are both hetero-disabled, so she has a good chance of carrying it, but she might have been unlucky. Gotcha. Who knows? We'll find out. Don't be long. We're almost done taping. Ooh, I should get a pin for his tape here, because it's going to drive me nuts. Here we go. Pull that nice and snug. Pin his tape in. Because the issue we have now is that his tape, this is cheap. This is cheap. Cheap duct tape. So the issue we have is that it likes to not stick sometimes. But this duct tape is also translucent. Like, you can see through it sometimes in the right lighting. So it's not good duct tape. But it works well enough, because I only need it for this. I don't need super thick fancy duct tape to use it for all of 5 minutes to make a pattern, you know? No point in spending all that extra money and getting all that extra material. Just for that. Hard part is there's a lot of curves on a fursuit head. So then we gotta here. There we go. Try and make it look nice and be nice around tight curves, which is hard with a flat material without cutting a bazillion darts. But we don't want to cut a bazillion darts because that means a bazillion pieces. It's a whole thing. And then we're actually going to take his nose off and pattern that separately later. Because he's going to have a pickable nose, which means we can do this with his snoot. And he can have stuff go through his nose. But that does require me patterning it separately. So that's a whole thing, all on its own. It also usually requires more work on my end. That's That's how we charge extra for it. We only are patterning half the head because this design is symmetrical, but also, even if it wasn't, I would just duplicate it, reflect the other pattern onto this side as well, because then this way when we fur it later, each side will be completely symmetrical in shape, which is what we want. We don't want one side that looks bigger and rounder than the other. So I do need this to be not the way it is, though. So this is pulling too tight on that corner, and that's not what we want. Because you want to be able to actually fit the fur there later. There we go. And now we get to pattern it out. If I can find a black Sharpie, I only have 80,000 of them. There's one. Scoot, scoot. You just gotta scoot across the floor. We're just gonna draw his midline for the center of his face. Yeah. There we go. And then we'll do the same thing here. And on the lower jaw. Oop. I have bing bonged. You guys probably heard that on my telegram. Why are we bing bonging? Ooh, chat's going on. Oh no, a boat caught on fire. Yikes-a-roonies. Hopefully no one was hurt. I'm sure it's fine, but you know. You can die now. Alright, this is his reference sheet. There we go. I have to be able to look at it to actually draw his patterns. It's kind of helpful. So, we've got up to the nose, kind of actually. This might be easier to pattern with his model, but I know this is going to be like this. Because the inside of his ear is that lighter cream color versus the outside of his ear. And then he's got little eyebrow dots. Just can't go wrong with that. We do need to remember to actually install whiskers. So we're going to 1, 2, 3. Yeah, sure. I don't know how many whiskers is too many whiskers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. That's a good patterning. So we can have 6 on each side. We use fishing line for whiskers because it's flexible, stretches a little bit, and if you buy heavy enough weight fishing line, it's thick enough for whiskers. You can see it. Currently, I only have black or white whiskers. That is what that is. Come back, photo. Okay, and this comes... It's not a straight line from the eye to the corner of the nose. It's a curved line. There we he actually has 4 whiskers on his reference sheet, so we could probably pattern it out for those whiskers. I'm gonna do that because that'll look better. You can see my Sharpie through the tape. That's funny. That's actually really convenient because normally you fuck it up and then you're fucked up, you know? Just the way it goes. Let's see here, our pattern is 1, 2 slightly in front of that, 1 way down here, 1 right here, 1 here. This one's way over here. There we go. Thing is I feel like the whisker line that I have might be too thin for this, which is unfortunate, but you know, it is what it is. Eesh. Rotate it so you guys can actually see what I'm working on. Oops, sorry, bumping you guys. That was probably loud, my bad. But you guys can kind of see some of the doodling I'm doing. He's got a fairly simple pattern on his face. And then we're going to go out from the corner of his eye. We don't really have a corner, so we're just going to go out from the middle of the eye to top of his cheek, and then curve it down. And then it will come down his neck. That will be the pattern, I think. And then it looks like, it's hard to tell, but it looks like he has this actually kind of almost a mascara look. Coming out right here. And then, actually I need to, yeah, it's all there, okay. With like a darker brown shade that flows to the inside of his eye. So he's got that kind of shape pattern going on there. I can't really tell if that's meant to also outline around the bottom of the eye, but it looks like it is supposed to. So we're just going to go ahead and do a nice thin outline right here while we're at it. There we go. Keep this larger arch. And he's got long, thinner eyebrows. I don't know why I'm looking under my glasses. Like an old man. It's because it gives me a headache when I look at stuff up close to my face with my glasses on. That's why. I need my glasses to be able to see chat, which is way over there, but anything closer than this to my face, my eyeballs cross, and I look through the wrong lens, thus giving me a headache. Apparently, according to my eye doctor, I have the eyes of a 40-year-old. Have since I was like 15. But I think that's all of our patterning for this guy. We will double check with the commissioner and go from there. I do need to erase Here, hold on, let me just erase this one spot. This is Sharpie, by the way. It's just coming off really easily on this tape. Yeah, I think that's that for this guy as far as his color patterns go. He is gonna have a lot of hair up here, but that's future us's problem for when we do his neckline. But we did go way over time today. I actually have to go and feed the dogs and make dinner. Is this still glued in? Oh, good lord, my hot glue gun's still plugged in. Today is a day, guys. I know you haven't been here very long. I usually only stream for a couple hours, a couple times a week, because streaming is tiring. But we're gonna go find somebody to raid. We're gonna go pop over to KB, because they do some knitting. I know sometimes she does crochet, but today I think she's doing knitting. And we're gonna raid over there. Oops, start raid. There we go. My bad. I don't know how to hit buttons. Buttons are hard. And I will see you guys hopefully again. I do stream on Mondays and Wednesdays. I do crafting streams. And on Thursdays, I do gaming streams, 2 p.m. Eastern to 4 p.m. But yeah, hopefully I see you all next time. It's been great. I'm ready for a nap, and I gotta feed the dogs dinner. So, bye.